A young girl named Ashley, 11 years old, she returns from school. She opens the door, calls for her mother, but no answer. She hears a faint moaning sound from the living room. She enters, finds her father, Michael, laying on the couch. She thinks he's asleep, but an instant, his hand suddenly rises, then falls limply, and never moves again. Ashley runs to him, screams, shakes his body. Michael was taken to the hospital in a desperate attempt to save him, but it was too late. The doctors said it was a heart attack. Everything seemed normal, or so they wanted to believe. But his features, the swelling of his face, the looks of terror before his death, they told a different story. His wife, Stacey, refused an autopsy. She said, "Michael never liked hospitals. Let him rest, and let us move on with our lives in peace." Her words were soft, like a broken-hearted mother, trying to shield her daughters from additional pain. But behind that calm tone, there were signs that everyone missed. And so his life ended. He was buried quickly, without questions, without an investigation, without evidence. But this death, it wasn't the last. Years later, a new man appeared in Stacey's life. His name was David. She married him and moved with her daughters to live with him. The girls didn't like him at first. To them, there was no replacement for their late father. They rejected the very idea of having another man in their mother's life, even with his gentle attempts and his genuine words when he told Ashley, "I'm not here to take your father's place." The distance remained, but over time, David became like a second father to Ashley, especially after her graduation day, when he cried tears of joy in front of everyone. But the joy was short-lived. Just as stability began to return, everything started to crumble once more. The disagreements between David and Stacey became public. Yelling, coldness, sharp glares. One day, Stacey called the police and told them, "David and I argued last night. He was furious. He told me, 'If you leave me, you will regret it.' Then he locked himself in the bedroom, and he hasn't come out or answered me since yesterday."
Police communication, how can I help you? My name is Stacey Castor. My husband didn't show up to work this morning. I don't know what's going on.
Police arrived, broke down the door, and found David laying on the bed, completely still. He was already dead. Next to the bed was a container of antifreeze, the same coolant used in cars, and a glass of berry juice that tested positive for the same poison. At first glance, it looked like a suicide. David had poisoned himself. Case closed. But when investigators started searching the house, something felt wrong. Inside the kitchen trash, detectives found a small plastic tube containing traces of a blue liquid. That discovery made the detectives suspicious of Stacey, but it still wasn't enough to arrest her. When they confronted her, she denied everything and coldly said, "You don't have any proof." But investigation kept digging. Detectives began tearing through her past, every detail, every document, every motive. And that's when the first bombshell dropped. Before he died, David had written a will, and in it, he left everything for Stacey. The house, the business, the cars, the bank accounts. And the strangest part, he hadn't leave a single cent to his only son. After David's death, Stacey lived like nothing had happened. Luxury trips, endless shopping, a brand new lifestyle. But months later, the official analysis of the blue liquid came back. And that's when the question that shattered the suicide story appeared. If David locked himself in the bedroom and poisoned himself alone, then how the same poison ended up in the kitchen? Who used that plastic tube? At that point, the police called Stacey back in. But this time, it wasn't friendly interview. With calm, almost gentle voices, they told her, "We just need one last conversation. A few simple questions so we can close the case." But what Stacey didn't know was that the police had already received the lab results. The tests revealed a shocking truth. The exact same poison, antifreeze, was found in David's system in high concentration, and her fingerprints were all over the glass that still had traces of that same toxic blue liquid. This time, Stacey entered the police station afraid. Her flustered demeanor and anxious eyes didn't escape the investigator's notice for a moment. With a deadly calm, the investigator decided to lure her into a simple trap. He said to her, "In David's room, on the day he died, there were 2 glasses and some some blueberry juice. Can you tell me which glass you poured the juice into? A moment of silence. Then she answered without thinking. When I poured, I mean the juice, a single slip of the tongue. That was all it took. Her fingerprints had already been found on the glass before, but back then she could still deny it, claim she only touched it while cleaning or by accident. But now the new toxicology report killed every excuse she had. This time the evidence didn't just point at Stacey, it proved she was the one who blazed the glass in front of David. The truth was uncovered. Shock, fear, tension, everything erupted at once. She suddenly lost her composure and screamed, "You're trying to twist my words against me. I don't want to continue this interrogation." But was it too late to take it back? The police made their decision. They would not confront her directly now. Instead, they would take a step back and observe quietly. Official permission was obtained to wiretap her phone cells. The plan was clear: to wait and then catch her at the right moment. But then came the biggest surprise of all. A few days later, an emergency call came from Stacey. "My daughter Ashley, she tried to kill herself. She drank vodka and took pills."
Your bottle of vodka, Ashley. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
They arrived quickly. Ashley was laying down, her body still. Breathing was difficulty, on the brink of death, and beside her was a note. As for the mother, she stood with a strange composure, holding the letter and explaining what had happened. But wait. What letter? It was a shocking letter, 750 words long. Everything was typed. Even Ashley's name at the end was printed. No handwriting, no signature. And the content of the letter, it was more brutal than anyone could have imagined. "Mom, I'm sorry. I loved you so much, and I couldn't bear how Dad was always screaming at you. I'm the one who killed my father, Michael, and I'm the one who poisoned your husband, David." The letter described in detail how the crimes were carried out, like a full, comprehensive confession. But wait a minute. A girl who was 11 years old at the time. Is it plausible that she could have planned her father's murder in such a way and then waited years only to kill her stepfather using the same method? And most importantly, would she type such a long letter in the midst of an alleged suicide attempt? The investigators didn't swallow the bait easily. Ashley arrived at the hospital and was placed in intensive care. It was unclear whether she would live or die, but if she survived, she would be the key to the truth. How did things come to this? What had happened? Let's rewind for a moment and go into a flashback. Let's reveal everything from the very beginning.
You heard a shower running, and then you said an interesting thing. You said, "I assumed it was Ashley."
Mm-hmm.
Would that be because you knew that David was passed out near death in his bed?
No.
You actually said in your testimony yesterday, you said, "David was in bed. I assumed it was Ashley." How did you know David was in bed?
That's where he was when I left him last.
Stacey Castor, a woman of ordinary appearance, a warm smile, soft-spoken, a mother of 2 girls, the wife of a humble mechanic. To the outside world, she was the perfect mother, but behind closed doors, there was another side, a side barely human. Stacey was born in a quiet town in New York. She came from a simple family, a rebellious teenager, but she was intelligent to a scary degree. She met Michael when she was young, and he was her first love, a kind, hard-working, dreamy young man. They married quickly and had 2 daughters, Ashley and Perry. At first, life was normal, but as time passed, Stacey grew restless. She wanted a bigger life, luxury, freedom, and Michael, he was content to his home, his daughters, and his work. Problems began to surface slowly. Stacey would scream, protest, complain. She'd say, "What good is love? We need money, travel, a bigger house." Then came her decision. Divorce? No. Divorce takes time and money, and her ability to lie had its limits. The solution had to be faster than that. On Christmas, they stayed up late, laughing, eating cake. Michael never suspected it was the last night of his life. He drank his juice, felt dizzy, and never woke up. After Michael died, Stacey collected the insurance, $50,000, and she just kept living like nothing nothing happened. Even Ashley noticed it. She said she couldn't understand how her mom wasn't sad, how she didn't seem affected at all by Michael's death. It was the perfect plan. I hear you asking about David. After Michael's death, Stacey met a second man. Kind, successful, he owned a business. He loved her and put assets in her name. But when the relationship started to crumble and he realized she was using him, he became a liability. And Stacey doesn't like to lose. The same poison, the same method. But this time she forgot to wipe her fingerprints. And when she was cornered and the evidence was monitoring, she played her final card. She tried to frame her own daughter Ashley. She wrote a fake confession and slipped poison into her drink, hoping she would die and it would all be over. But Ashley didn't die. She regained consciousness, and that was the moment when all the crimes were finally exposed. The confrontation, the trial, and the fall of the Black Widow. Ashley awoke in her hospital bed, her eyes half open. A white room, tubes, the sound of machines, and the face of her mother looking down at her. But it wasn't her mother's face. It was the face of guilt, of panic, the face of a killer. Stacey whispered to her, "I'm sorry, I was only trying to protect you," then left the room quietly, as if delivering a final farewell, or ensuring her plan had ultimately failed. But Ashley survived. After hours of intensive care, she regained full consciousness. In a hoarse voice, she whispered, "My mother tried to kill me." Everything crumbled after that. The police launched a formal investigation. They summoned Ashley for questioning. The girl who had nearly died, she became the key witness. She began to recount the details. How she had felt tired. How the drink had tasted strange. How her mother had told her to drink it through a straw so she wouldn't taste the bitterness. And how she had awoken to find herself between life and death. This testimony was all the police needed. But they didn't stop there. They returned to the file of Stacey's first husband, Michael, and requested a new analysis of his remains. The result was shocking. A high concentration of the lethal substance, antifreeze. The same poison that had killed David. At that point, all hell broke loose. Stacey was formally arrested. Charges of first-degree murder twice, attempted murder, forgery, fabricating evidence, manipulation of a minor. The list seemed endless, and in the courtroom, the drama reached its peak. Ashley, the daughter who had once been so proud of her mother, now stood before her, testifying against her. Tears filled her eyes, her voice trembling. "How could you do this to me? I was your daughter, not your enemy."
I hate my mother for ruining so many people's lives. I didn't even know why she did it. I never knew what hate was until now. Even though I do hate her, I still love her at the same time.
Stacey, she stood in the dark, looking at her daughter with hardened eyes. No remorse, no tears, no justification. The judge was clear and stern. "Stacey Castor, you're not just a murderer. You're a manipulative, sick, and dangerous woman. A threat to everyone around you." The final verdict was handed down. 54 years in maximum security prison, with no possibility of early release. And in her cell, she spent her years in silence. No visitors, no correspondence, no remorse. And in 2016, the story ended with a heart attack on a cold bed with no one to mourn her. In her cell, she made no sound in her final days, as if the devil inside her had finally decided to fall silent. A woman who killed her first husband, poisoned her second, and nearly murdered her own daughter. And all for what? Inheritance? Freedom, or simply a desire to control everyone's fate? Do people walk among us wearing the mask of tenderness while hiding deadly intentions behind it? So what do you think, guys? Share your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. See you in the next one.